Now that we have seen what Flutter is and why we will be using Dart to develop applications in Flutter, it's time now to see how we can install Flutter on various platforms. We'll be starting with Windows and then we'll be covering Mac operating system. In order to install Flutter on Windows, the basic system requirement is to have 400 MB of disk space, and operating system should be Windows 7 SP1 or later, and it must be 64-bit. You must have Windows PowerShell and Git for Windows installed, with the option use Git from the Windows command prompt. We then need to have Flutter SDK. It's available as a zip file, and you can grab the latest one from this URL, that is flutter.io docs get started install Windows. Once you have downloaded the zip file, you can extract it inside a directory, let's call it Flutter, and then in that directory you'll find a batch file called flutter_console.batch. You just need to double click on it to execute it, and once done you'll be able to run Flutter from your command prompt. You can also go ahead and update the path variable of your Windows path, and there you need to include flutter/bin in your path, so that way you can execute Flutter from anywhere. So from any given directory you can execute the command Flutter. After that, you need to ensure that you have all the things properly set up, and to do that you'll be running Flutter Doctor. Now Flutter Doctor checks your environment and displays a report of the status of your Flutter installation. After that, if you want to work closely on a Windows, you must have Android Studio setup. It's not a requirement, but if you have it, it will be better. So in order to install Android Studio, you can follow the instructions provided in the same URL, flutter.io docs get started install Windows. We'll be covering how to install Flutter and integrate it with Visual Studio Code on Windows operating system. I already have Android Studio set up on my system, so what I'll do now is quickly show you how to download the Flutter SDK, extract it, and run the Flutter console.batch file. So let's get started. So here I'll be downloading the Flutter Windows version 1.0.0 stable.zip. It's around 321 MB. It will take a couple of minutes to download. So you can see that I have extracted the contents now inside a directory called Flutter, and then we have this file called flutter_console.batch. You just need to double click on this to run it, and there you have it. This is your Flutter console now, and let's go ahead and run Flutter Doctor. Now you can see that there's one instruction given, so we can just copy this and paste it over here. I've already installed JIT, so here you can see that it's cloning now. Now that I have cloned a copy of it, I can go ahead and run Flutter Doctor. So here you can see that it says that if you want to disable the analytics data that gets sent to Google, you can just go ahead and run this command, flutter config no analytics, to disable analytics and crash. And here you can see the issues that Flutter Doctor found. So Flutter channel beta, Microsoft Windows version this, that's fine. Now Android toolchain developed for Android devices, SDK 25.0.1, the license status is unknown. Then we have Android Studio version 3.1, but it says that Flutter plugin not installed, and Dart plugin is not installed as well. So these are the two things that we'll need to take care of. And then it has got this IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. For that we need to have Flutter and Dart plugin installed as well. Now it also identified that VS Code, Visual Studio Code 32-bit edition, is available and there are no devices connected. So in the next lecture what we'll do is we'll be going ahead and we'll be installing these plugins, and we'll also set a Visual Studio Code integration. So more on that will be coming up in the next lecture.